Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We'll give a few more seconds for folks to join. All right, welcome to today's Zixi Protected Multicast webinar. A few housekeeping items. We do have a Q&A section down below. Please do add your questions there, and we will be attempting to answer those questions at the end of the webcast, should time permit. And if we are not able to get to it, we will be capturing those questions and we'll be sure to follow up. We also will be launching a poll towards the end of the session. So if you can answer that, that would be great. It gives us an opportunity for us to follow up with you guys. And also, just to note, this is a recorded webinar and the link will be available to access on our website in the next day or so. All right, Emeka, if you can just go into the next slide. Again, we're still waiting for a few folks to join. Just to kind of cover here, we're in week 2 of our Zixi powered virtual NAB event. And before I start today's specific topic, which is Zixi Protected Multicast, I also wanted to highlight our 2 upcoming webinars tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, same time, same place. Tomorrow we have one with our partners Blackbird. It's a cloud video editing and publishing platform, and they'll be showcasing their Zixi integration to the Blackbird platform. And on Thursday, we have a joint webinar with Ardetto, also part of the Zixi enabled network, and we'll be sharing a joint solution of the embedding invisible and forensic watermarking of live video assets. So both very valuable from a partnership standpoint. So please join that. All right, so for a quick round of intros. All right, my name is Eunice Park. I'm the Vice President of Zixi's Global Sales and Revenue Team. I'm webcasting out of New York City's Upper West. And with me, I have our very esteemed colleague, whom I'm very proud to introduce. It's Mr. Emeka Okoli. He is Vice President of Customer Success, and he is the head of our Global Solutions Engineering team, and he is webcasting from our Boston HQ. Again, please add your questions in the Q&A section below, and the poll that we launched towards the end of the webcast, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, breaking glass, it's time to implement the plan. We wanted to share with you some numbers we recently polled across our global media executives. It's also why we're very keen on addressing this specific topic, protected multicast, as we're seeing this immediate trend, this immediate need to move into a remote world and to virtualize everything. So the numbers here, 81% said that work from home, this remote working environment is probably definitely needed for the future events and settings. 97% said that virtualization would definitely lead to creating new sources of revenue. 93% believes that migrating to virtualized remote workflows will lead to cost savings. It'll create operational efficiencies. 95% believe that virtualization will drive to quick cloud adoption. 93% believes that as a result of moving into this remote virtualized world, it would require them to capture more telemetry, more data, and have the ability to orchestrate all this, all the remote workflows. And again, we're seeing this need to break glass. The need to implement a plan and to virtualize is now. It's something Zixi has been proven time and again, being able to help our customers, our broadcast customers, move their high value assets to the cloud of their IP choice. Since Zixi, we function as a video fabric that traverses their fixed infrastructure, helping and allowing them to virtualize. Next slide, please. All right, so this is a picture of the glorious, beautiful internet. And thanks to our good friends at the OPT project, this is a visual representation of the global infrastructure of the internet. It's a network of networks, of course. And what's mapped here in the images are various paths in which information flows from a router to router, from packets to packets, from unmanaged network connection points to managed network connection points or vice versa, and it's going across the whole entire world. These connection points from the different regions of the world specifically are mapped out by color, and the way they have it mapped out is, North America is the blue saturated areas, green is Europe, purple is LATAM, red is Asia Pacific, orange is Africa, white is the backbone of the internet, which is the most highly concentrated connection points within the network. Obviously, taking a look at this, it suggests that it's super big. Internet is super big. It's super hyper connected, and as we all know, it's extremely complex as it's an interweaving of networks. This leads to lots of congestion, right? A lot of BGP issues, lots of distance issue, jitter, packet issues. It also has a lot to do with link bandwidth, link utilization, link quality, path diversity issues. And where Zixi comes into play, we bring order over these network chaos that we see here. So again, we at Zixi, we ensure that high value assets, high value live video assets specifically, that's traversing from one connection point coming out of this saturated bubble to another connection point is sent by way of, it's cleanly protected, it's clean, it's optimized, and it's guaranteed. Which is interesting because it's also not very unsimilar to some of the challenges of multicast on private networks as well. So again, we tame the unmanaged network, and as it makes its way into an integration between the unmanaged and the managed. All right, so who is Zixi and what we do? And traditionally, we've been thought of handling a lot of challenges on the unmanaged network and the same challenges that exist on the managed network. We're here to bridge that gap. So who are we? Zixi is a software-defined video platform. We're employed by very demanding top-tier broadcasters globally, along with various OTT providers, various MVPDers, broadcast service providers, system integrators. We have over 700 plus customers. We have a long increasing list of 180 plus integrated partners that Zixi enabled. We have over 100,000 Zixified instances around the world. And what we've been known for, we're bringing broadcast quality transmission over the unmanaged and managed networks. We've been in the market for almost 13 years, actually over 13 years, and we have a long set of experience that's yielded a super hardened platform. We're able to do this by sourcing and distributing live events, all that content, and we're giving our customers the ability to manage these channels through various components of our stack, of our platform. It's something to note, we're the only platform right now out there that supports as many protocol stacks under a single platform. You can use the Zixi's mantra right now is you can use Zixi over any protocol. You can use Zixi over any IP. That means not only the unmanaged, but also managed, private, dedicated MPLS. You can use Zixi over any cloud and any device. And as a result, our huge ecosystem of varied Zixified integrated partners and endpoints all are ultimately controlled by a single unified SaaS control plane for the Zixi enabled network. This is important because it helps our operators, it helps our non-engineering resources to be able to orchestrate and manage of all those software elements across the entire virtualized ecosystem that it touches. And it's done so in conjunction not only with the Zixi protocol, but all the other protocol that feeds into and outputs across their choice of network. All right, so what are some of the challenges that are faced by our dedicated, our private, our managed network partners? And these are things that we've seen in the industry, so nothing new here. We're hearing that there's very limited visibility from an end-to-end network aspect. There may be, and that might be because there might be networking gear that isn't enabled to provide that telemetry, or perhaps, at that cross point, you don't have access or the control to those telemetry or visibility into those cross-sectioning areas. And as a result, if you don't have that visibility and if you don't have that data, it's very difficult to provide an RCA, a root cause analysis of what just happened, right? Similarly, like I mentioned there in the big picture of the internet, there's a lot of bandwidth utilization issues. There are link quality issues that we talked about. And as a result, there's inefficient potential use of network within multicast traffic. A lot of our discussion henceforth will be focusing on this specific use case, which Emeka will go into deeply. But again, how do you actually address that? And also the lack of interoperability. How do you go from WAN to LAN? How do you bring that content from unmanaged into that managed network? The lack of interoperability. Again, some of the challenges that we're hearing. So the solution, how do you solve for these challenges, these problem statements? And for us, our answer, the Zixi answer is you gotta have a software-defined video platform. All right, so the question being, what is a software-defined video platform? What is an SDVP? There's 4 major components that make up a software-defined video platform. It's what's required to allow major operators and engineers to work in concert, in collaboration, to make sure that you achieve this idea of being able to acquire that signal and fully operate that within the dynamic and complex structures of live video ecosystem, right? The first thing you gotta have is the protocol. Zixi is an all protocol company. We currently are at 17 protocols from a support standpoint. What that means is interoperability. Of course, out of those, not to be confused again with the name Zixi, which is the name of the company, and of course Zixi, the protocol is something that put us on the map, but Zixi protocol is known, it's been tested repeatedly, and it's always been proven as best in class protocol. It's super high resilience, it's super high quality, it handles up to 40% packet loss. But not only are we doing that, we're harvesting that data. We look within the packets, we look within in-stream, but we preserve the metrics. And again, the key thing here is it's what really makes up an SDVP. We're able to come in as anything and go out as anything, and we can switch among that. So what I mean by that is we also do HLS, we do dash, stack, and super low latency. In the environment of moving into the live production world, we started to support NDI. We are big promoters and supporters of standards. We support the risk main profile. We believe in that. This also extends within the OEM system. We are giving our partners a plethora of choice to choose between RTP, RTP FEC. We're adding this whole conceit around any to any piece that's being driven by market demand. So we'll probably add to this stack of protocol support. And to point out, again, we are the only platform that supports many and all protocols, including NDI, RIS, SRT, Zixi, HLS, knowing that these things, this need to be interoperable is the building blocks and being able to take that content into a single software-defined video platform. Going into the next is this video solution stack. If you think about it, this is the hardening, the infinite number of configuration experiences that we've yielded over this 13 years. You've got to be able to navigate between your primary, your secondary, your tertiary, even quaternary feeds when you go through various codecs. You've got to be able to manage when going across different types of network conditions, right? For us all on this call, we understand when those table stakes are high. You've got to be able to vacillate between public and private hybrid clouds. And with that, you've got to be able to do the processing. Zixi has a live transcoding. It's different than file transcode. We do 4K origination where we manage H.265 compression. And what that means is your customer is gonna get the noticeable high quality of experience. But again, that's not enough. You've got to preserve those captions. You've got to manage HLS dash outputs and have them ready to be able to push out to CDN or potentially a smart TV that may require WebBTT for OTT ready apps. You also got to have the ability to intersect with ad systems like Amagi, Whirl, iStream Planet. You know, these solutions that Zixi enables is providing the end-to-end business supply chain system, which really is what our industry is pushing towards. And it's important because it's going to help them reduce the costs. It's going to help all of us look at it from an operational efficiency standpoint and help our customers drive or create new sources of revenue. And of course, we do the basics such as auto slating, time-shifted delivery, recording, time seek, all the basics. We also go deep into the network and transport analytics and content quality and analytics, which Emeka will touch upon as those are benefits, value add within the stack that we're bringing. We know what audio and video and data assets are doing. We know what they're doing. We wrap telemetry around it, and we have that information available for further orchestration, which goes into our third topic here. Orchestration and abstraction. Zen Master. Yes, you have servers, you have compute, that's important where software resides on, but you've got to have a control plane to run all of this. And this is, by the way, is run by operators, right? And you're going to have these operators who are going to who are going to stare at that single screen. And again, that screen showing you the entire iceberg of that workflow that's underpinning against each part of the supply chain. So, which that basically means your operators are going to be able to provision, they're going to be able to deploy, you're going to have the ability to see all your stream flows, both in video and data flow, using our grits, our Zen Master grits, our trace routes, and get those RCAs, which we all know on this call how important and critical RCA is, root cause analysis is. Some food for thought. 50 programming TV channels, we're told, can potentially yield 2,000 to 3,000 streams at any given point. And being able to dissect into that supply chain when something goes wrong and know when your operators will need to invoke a very costly and scarce engineering resource and that engineering time, that is super critical. So once you have this infrastructure in place, right, how are you going to know which of these specific assets that you're going to move around, right? From when are you going to spin up an encoder? When are you going to spin down a decoder? When are you going to bring in IRD? When is that going to be consumed? When is it going to be deployed within that infrastructure? Potentially, what service provider will you use? What service integrators will you use? Vimon, Blackbird, Grabio, who will take part of that live content, process it, all while in conjunction with all the Zixi capabilities that's provided within this single platform. Again, globally, we have 700 customers, 180 partners and counting. We're in 100,000 instances worldwide. We're iterating the message here of saying, Zixi's software-defined video platform. We have that depth, we have the breadth, and you basically have a footprint of where you can go from any place to any. Again, this is all utilizing the power of our Zixi software-defined video platform. It helps you get your content on-ramped and off-ramped, and in that process, we're able to be able to provide as a flashlight and virtualize that entire network. If you can go to the next slide, this is a quick slide snapshot showing an example of a live and live linear video ecosystem. So from left to right, you see your multiple sources that's been Zixified. You go to your multiple targets on the right, and all while this is traversing your private MPLS or dedicated network, and potentially even your different cloud, your hybrid and multiple cloud instances. And again, this is all at the top, controlled, orchestrated, managed through a single control plane, Zen Master, which provides a unified, unique global control plane view of everything within that ecosystem. All right, if you move to the next one here, and I'll kind of end it with this before we go a little bit more into the technical chops here. Like I said, traditionally, we're known to handle some of the challenges of the unmanaged network, and we're addressing some of the things that's going on today in the dedicated side of the house. So why and how and why is this most important from a true return aspect? Again, it's the RCA aspect, the root cause analysis. We have asked, kind of surveyed our major customers, and they said the number one cost from a root cost analysis on a single programmatic channel, they spent about $500,000 a year just analyzing, spending time to figure out what happened, right? So with Zixi, that doesn't happen over weeks, months. It happens in minutes where, like I said, we're analyzing in-stream stats over private networks with our software stack, right? And with Zixi protected, you get that visibility until you give the handoff point somewhere downstream. We optimize network parts. We create bandwidth efficiencies within networks. We are scalable. We help customers sublinearly scale from 1,000 to 10,000. And it's instant. It doesn't take months and years to do that. We help virtualize, and by virtualizing that supply chain, you're able to collaborate with your partners to reduce the operational lift, especially if you're administrating things remotely. Again, we're all about democratizing the operational workforce, the operational resources. Operators versus engineers, right? We all know engineers are high value assets, four times more expensive. Again, we give operators the ability to look inside of the stream and line, be able to dissect what's going in that supply chain, and know when operators need to invoke those very costly engineering resource and time. And again, we help you maintain your availability, high availability, which means if you're available, you can hit your own SLAs. And again, to round it out, we understand the integrity of how to deliver on a B2B level. We deliver at the highest quality of experience. All right, so moving to Emeka, who's going to be going deep dive into our the elements and the benefits of our software-defined video platform. Emeka?
Well, thank you, Eunice. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. Hope everybody's safe. We're going to get into the nuts and bolts quickly on multicast. So what is multicast versus unicast? We all know and aware that multiple unicast distribution of strings does occupy a large portion of your bandwidth and network. So ideally, multicast is appealing for that reason, but we also know that it's a critical workflow and for management of those flows via routers, etc. But it's also a significant lift. It's high maintenance, and you have to work across teams to maintain that environment. But what else can you add? So what we want to do here is review additional features to consider as you ponder protected multicast transmissions and workflows. And then we'll dive into how it helps to extend your telemetry across virtual teams, especially in the current world that we live in. And then additionally, how can you help extend that master control and have that telemetry and monitor with FEC and ARQ in a closed environment, in a private network, while still maintaining the benefits of multicast, but reinforced with the protection that comes along with it. So depending on time constraints, we'll try to answer some of your questions. So please send those in. And for those that we don't get to, we'll follow up with your details and emails. So let's talk about transmission features. So obviously to the left, as you can see, can you have multicast with some ARQ, which is beneficial, especially for those that are operating in that vast wide area network, multiple facilities, global bureaus, ability to review content and archives before you go live. Can you add extra protections to that? FEC, ARQ, those are all benefits. And additional features that you benefit on the Zixi software defined video platform is bonding, the ability to bond either sequentially or bond together to create a large pipe, and also for resiliency. Hitless failover, as I call it, self-healing mechanism, is an additional feature that you can employ at that edge. In addition to that, Zixi can provide protected multicast to various endpoints to remote facilities, bridging that gap between two fiber grids, and then have Zixi be that glue to carry high bitrate content. So with that said, Zixi provides an adaptive bitrate mechanism that you can take advantage of. There's no practical max bitrate for compressed video. So moving it from one facility to the other, you can use it to bridge that gap and then fan it out to various client nodes, analytics systems that have been invested in private networks. How do you fan those out, large bit rates, and still maintain the advantages of multicast? The latencies are adjustable between nodes, or it's synchronized across many nodes. So again, you have a situation where you have other virtual teams working and getting confidence feedback, or looking downstream to see how those telemetry attributes can be visualized on the software defined video platform. Paid selection, paid normalization, those are advantages that you can gain by having Zixi on the edge and being able to cherry pick which programs that you bring on to the private side and still maintain the telemetry down to the actual device. Fallback mechanism is provided for those particular endpoints within your multicast private networks that may not be prepped for multicast. We do provide a fallback mechanism to unicast just for that particular node, while everyone receives a broadcasted multicast with the QoS that you gain with the handshake. Now let's look at the telemetry. QoS on each multicast client node is a benefit, but how do you extract that? How do you provide that to a virtual team that may not be physically in the facility? How do you provide CQA and gain insight on what streams or what programs have frozen video, noisy audio, etc. So you can use Zixi to capture a significant amount of that analytics. And then if you're on a private network and you need to push it out to a specific device that's unique, for example, multicast, protected multicast will maintain the integrity of that stream so you can analyze it on the private network. Perhaps there's a transcode along the way, a change of quality, missing ad inserts or SCSI markers or cues. That's a benefit that you can gain by providing that insight or telemetry down to the device that terminates. So being able to decipher root cause, especially for live events, you want to know now, you don't want to know post the event. It takes it's a task to get all engineers, 20 or so odd engineers together on the bridge. So this gives you immediate alerting on the platform when you have problems downstream. So you want a platform that can provide not just the extended visibility, but end-to-end with control mechanism that you can use to affect change immediately. If an ad is not running or if the triggers are not showing up, can you click a couple of buttons to switch over immediately, especially again during a live event, even before gathering a team together to analyze. There's 100% cost savings on hardware because you have a high throughput per device. Zixi has a small print, but carries a high throughput of 10 gigs. And in a protected multicast scenario, you can imagine how that would save you on your circuit and bandwidth being optimized in real time. We'll go to the next slide. So to summarize, orchestration, as we discussed, how do you get to provision, architect, provision, securely deploy, having those mechanisms to do that on the fly across diverse clouds, across diverse ecosystems and regions, not just in the US, but taking advantage of paths. So for example, we'll talk about acquisition of a high value content across the same infrastructure that gives you the flexibility of multi-path distribution, and then ultimately landing at several nodes, especially on the private networks. And then from the private network, how do you now extend the telemetry downstream, either for a customer or for a virtual team that's working across globally. Interoperability, as Eunice mentioned, is a key factor to this. Come with your preference of protocols. Zixi has those, 17 protocols and counting, and 180 integrated partners. But then how do you convert, right? How do you aggregate with different protocols and make that change on the fly and then fan it out immediately into a multicast, protected multicast group? Scalability is another factor. It's multi-threaded, the Zixi components that run along with the platform provides you a multi-threaded system that allows you to achieve a high throughput. And then on top of that, you can have distribution over protected multicast. It's secure. It provides virtualization across facilities, bridging that gap as we talked about. And again, the tools with sequential hitless failover, the self-healing mechanism with 2022-7 is extended across the internet and other transmission mediums like fiber, MPLS, et cetera. And then with the advantage that you can distribute it efficiently. Latency is one key factor on the platform. It's adjustable. It's used to synchronize arrival time of packets. So your failover paths will be synced within iframes, or if it's in the hitless failover format, then you achieve a hitless switchover. So that latency is something that you can adjust for each node, and you can achieve sub 100 millisecond latency, and with the control to do that. And the idea here, with as we put out more functionality, Zixi provides you the ability to make that latency change without interrupting the stream, which is significant when you're talking about high value content. Now we'll talk about some of the use cases that we're going to demonstrate to you. So for the use case, just to set the stage, in the use case that we've staged, this is acquiring critical high value content across the globe, bringing it on using the software defined video platform for Zixi, and being able to spin up clusters in Europe, go in one path, the ability to peel off maybe some cherry pick some PIDs to fan it out in Europe, but you continue to bring that full bouquet of content to a private node in Asia. So that's just to level set on the workflow. In parallel, we also moving the same content through the US West, and then ultimately to Asia. And then both are converging to a facility in Asia and then onto a private network. So we'll talk about ongoing measurement of quality and QoS compliance. How do you extend that in a private network? How do you feed that back to remote operators that are monitoring against business compliance metrics? How do you extend that QoS telemetry or confidence feeds to other production sites and teams, taking advantage of features on a private network on the ingress side, being able to cherry pick, normalize, analyze, transcode down for confidence return feed, achieve the latency on the edge where we do not add additional cost in latency for the transcode. So how do you do all that as you move ahead in bridging the gap? So taking you through the architecture, this is to the left, highlighted in blue. You have a situation where you are acquiring a signal at a remote location globally. That signal will land on a load balance cluster, either in a data center or in the cloud. And then you're going to fan it out through two paths, right? You fan that out to two paths in Europe, in this case, and US West for this particular scenario. And then you can selectively push some signals either to a CDN, to HTTP targets, or via the US West side, you can push it to any of the cloud platforms or CDNs as well. And oh, by the way, maybe you need another program out of the MPTS protected stream to go to an uplink target. But ultimately, you need to bring all that back into a private network. And for those that have private networks, you obviously have the cornerstones of the industry that would do a deeper dive, managing color, giving you some insight on video quality, color hues, etc. So there are cornerstones and investments that you made on a private network, but how do you virtualize that? How do you have the ability to push out to Tektronix, for example, or some other analyzers to do a deeper dive, or perhaps you want to package and then fan it out later for distribution. So Zixi gives you that additional layer as you land on a private network to take advantage of all those things, increase the value of your investment, and provide that extended control to other teams that are virtually situated globally. And let's magnify that private network, for example. So in this case, you're looking at content coming in, you're maintaining and monitoring the attributes of the content, the quality of the content, and then you're distributing it in an efficient way with that extra protection of FEC, ARQ, AES, managing the sessions, and adding additional resiliency as it hits your remote offices, perhaps, or bureaus, for example, or in one example, you might use the integrated partner like a Telestream or Tektronix to pull it down to a particular device. So you want to maintain the fidelity of the stream to make sure that you're analyzing exactly what you acquired from the origin. So that's the advantage that Zixi gives you. Or in some cases, you might provide that service to a client, that downstream visibility. So again, similarly, in this scenario, this is just a contained distribution, if you will. So there's a lot of top broadcasts will have tons of archive content, trying to go from VOD to live, for example, and different bureaus might preview what they need to go live in that geo location. So this scenario explains multicast being protected, taking advantage of the hitless mechanism and the bonded mechanism, but still maintaining a low bit rate using multicast to distribute to many bureaus. The third bureau, as you can see with red, gives you the advantage of an origin and edge. So if nobody's watching or previewing it in Denver, for example, that payload gets released at that circuit. So again, there are some embedded savings. So now we'll take you right into the demonstration platform, which is Zixi ZenMaster. So the Zixi ZenMaster gives you a control plane, the ability to administrate, orchestrate, and manage with full telemetry end-to-end. When you get to the Zixi ZenMaster, just real quick for those that are not familiar, you get a dashboard, and the dashboard shows you your elements on the top left, right, where you can see all your instances and all the elements that are acquiring the signal, the broadcaster clusters that are that help you cluster and load balance multiple instances, regardless of cloud, regardless of geolocation. So you're load balancing things that carry your content with the mitigation mechanism of making sure that your instances are running in diverse environments. Receivers are endpoints. Sources are the sources that will be acquiring, and you can see which ones are having issues. Channels is on the distribution side. So again, you acquire the source, perhaps it's transcoded, but you move that across to a particular target. And then targets can be anything, social media, it could be devices. These are all logical terms. On the top right, your issues bubble up to the top, so you can dive right in. So you can actually click through and dive right into the issues. And then your events logs is on the bottom, which can be dumped as a report or pushed into Splunk or Tableau or any other format that you use. So let's touch on the channels real quick. But before that, we'll quickly show you how we've used the grids feature to isolate all the elements that assist with the particular workflow that we described. So as you can see, this is giving you some insight, verification, visually from the acquisition location in North America through Europe and then ultimately to Asia. So you can see those components and have visual representation and being able to click through to each particular cluster or resource. This example view gives you everything that workflow touches. So for those that are monitoring, you want to keep an eye on this, not only on the health signals, but anything that could possibly undermine the quality of the signal. So this is giving you end-to-end visual and telemetry down to the device. Going back to the channels. Real quick, as you can see here, this gives you a representation of that workflow that we showed earlier. And this is actual live stream that's showing you as this moves from acquisition via Europe and US and ultimately to the destination. Let me blow this up a little bit so we can have a clearer view. So as you can see, it's landing on the clusters. Now, any one of these segments could be problematic. Also, any one of the segments can be problematic, even down to the private side. So for example, this is hitting the fiber as it gets to the private node. And then from there, you have your diverse receiving points. Now let's go into the physical endpoints that are in the private network. So again, maintaining that continuity for visibility and telemetry. And then we can quickly open up that instance on the edge. So right now we have the first instance that the two streams would hit from Europe and Asia. And as you can see, there are 10 clients that are receiving this, and we'll go into, they're receiving it over protected multicast. And here is the payload that's going out for all the 10 recipients. So the payload is obviously fluctuating, but this is the payload that's being shared across all 10. And you can see on the output side that there are 10 recipients pulling the stream over protected multicast. The multicast group also exposes your pulls. These are the 2 streams as you land, and efficiently on your private network you're distributing. And like we said, if there's a particular problematic node, that will fall back automatically to unicast. Okay. Now let's look at the what we've simulated. So we've simulated the clients pulling, as you can see, using the system. We're pulling. There's a representation of diverse customers. All nodes, devices, or remote offices that are pulling. There's 10 right now. So what we'll do is we'll actually just simulate an additional 40 that will go ahead and pull the signal. So we'll start this node. And as you can scroll down, these 40 are coming on live, and these could be bureaus. This could be, London. This could be, regardless of distance, you could maintain the same protected multicast across. You have the benefit of the QoS, as you can see, right? And the latency in this case is 30 milliseconds. So now let's go back to the other view. As you can see now, there are 50 clients pulling the same stream. Payload is fluctuating, but same payload, but fanning out to 50, right? And then we can go back to the protected multicast. And as you can see, that number has increased. So this is monitoring, giving you the QoS, using FEC, using ARQ, using AES for protection, even on your video LAN. As you can see, there's an AES static key that's been applied, and that's been maintained with ease of management. And again, happy to answer any questions that you might have, or for those that provide an email, we'll follow up for questions that require more detail. So now we'll hand back to Eunice.
All right. Thank you, Emeka. I mean, let's see. We did have a few questions, and Emeka, one of the questions was to show multi-tenant and bonding features, and we'd be happy to follow that out directly to you. And a few others will also follow up directly given the timing. Just so to kind of round things up, I guess the take-home message here really is all about the folks on the call, as you look to enhance internal channels, content, or multicast traffic, whether it's traffic, backbone traffic, or whether it's WAN to LAN distribution traffic, Zixi's software-defined video platform and all the feature sets and the elements that we've just discussed and covered and showcased by Emeka with this use case, we can help enhance that traffic as it traverses your own network. And then secondly, probably the most important also is, as you look to virtualize in this new world of remote order, the ability to traverse in both hybrid, managed and unmanaged network, it's super critical, and we can help you achieve this at what we call the unprecedented scale and with whatever is required on the agility side. So again, for those who haven't filled out our poll, please do. We will be sending out the links to this recorded session. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to us at info@zixi.com. And for those interested in a POC or to trial a Zixi protected multicast, please do reach out to us, and you can take a look at more of the details on the website as well. Thank you again for everyone, and we will go ahead and close out the webinar for now.